Hello guys, and welcome back to another tutorial. Today I'm going to be showing you step by step how to make a Luke Skywalker's lightsaber. Now, this one is a very basic version. I haven't added all the little details and the little switch and everything. This is kind of just the basic lightsaber. And I'm going to show you step by step how to make it, how to make some of the basic materials. If you want to watch a more advanced version, I'm sure you'll find it somewhere, but this is just a simple one. Since it is May the 4th, I decided to kind of do something Star Wars. So let's jump into it, and I hope you guys enjoy. So since we're going to be doing a very specific type of movie prop, it's probably a good idea to go over to Google or Bing, whatever search engine you use, and just type in something like Luke's lightsaber reference. And that's what I did over here in the search engine. And I just picked the first one that I got on Google. You can see this is kind of like the standard Luke's lightsaber design. Here you can see is one of the buttons. I just downloaded a few of them and one that had it straight on, so I can use that as a reference. I just recommend you do this. It doesn't have to be the exact same image, but more or less just having an idea of what his lightsaber looks like is going to be handy. So I've already downloaded some. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to jump inside of Blender, and I'm just going to select all of the default objects. I'm going to press X and delete. So we have a clean scene in Blender. And then what I like to do is I like to go to wherever I have an image. So I'm just going to take one, I'm going to take it and drag it into the front orthographic view. So I'm in the front orthographic view. And then what you can do is you can take it, Blender will automatically import it as this sort of plane. You can take it and then you can rotate it. So in my case, my image, I'm going to rotate it up like this. And yours might be different. And also if you import an image, drag it into Blender, you can go over to your object data properties for the image, and you can also come over here. And I think you can adjust the opacity by clicking on a little tick here, and then you can adjust the opacity, which I'm not going to do. I'm just going to move it back in the scene like so. Now I have a rough reference. It doesn't have to be perfectly centered. It's just to give us an idea. So once you have that roughly set up, you're going to go into your front orthographic view. You're going to go Shift A. Under your measure options, you're going to add in a circle. Okay, we're going to go with the circle. And I like to go to my add circle, and I'm just going to make it something like 24 to get started with. And I'm going to go close that. So here we have it. And what you can do, you can tab into edit mode, and I'm going to start with the vertex option. I'm going to make sure everything is active, and then I'm going to go S, and in this case I'm going to try and scale it roughly to my lightsaber reference here. Okay, so yours might be at a different height. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and take mine and start the bottom of the lightsaber where the floor is, so this kind of red axis line here. It's probably good if you guys did the same, then we're kind of on the same page. So I'm going to select the circle again, tab into edit mode, and at this point I can now go and I can scale it to the right dimension. And I'm going to go E to extrude and Z, and extrude it up on the Z like so. Now you can see it gets a little bit thicker, so I'm going to go E to extrude, S to scale, make it a bit bigger. And then E to extrude and Z, and extrude up on the Z like so. You can see what we're doing here. It's very simple. So let's do another extrusion actually to over here. We're going to go E to extrude and Z. And in a situation like this, we can just extrude again and bring this up to about here before we have all of this sort of grooving starting here. And over here, you can see it's inset a little bit. So what we can do, a very simple technique, is to go to your face select mode. And by the way, I am in wireframe. So you go Z and you go wireframe. And let's just click and drag and select these faces. Then go E to extrude, right click. And then if you go S, Shift Z, so S, Shift Z, you can scale it in only on the X and Y axes, like so. Or you can even go Alt S and scale in along the normals, just a little bit. And now you can see that matches that reference a lot more accurately, like that. Okay, so let's go back to our vertex select option, select all of these top verts. And then let's go in here. But what we're going to do is we're going to go E to extrude, S to scale, and scale the first one in a little bit and then extrude it up like so. And we're going to just bring it to where the first step over here starts, this little groove. And to make this a little bit easier, we're going to go E to extrude and Z and just take this all the way to the top here like so. And then what we can do, we can go to our edge select option. So then if you go Control R, hovering over these edges, you can see a little yellow line. That is our edge tool here, or our edge loop tool. It should be over here somewhere, but anyway, Control R, hovering over here, you're going to left click once, and then right click. And then what you're going to do is you're going to come over here to the loop, cut and slide. And now you can come here and drag this slider here. And let's see how many of these segments we have. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So I'm going to come over here and make that 9 as well. And then what we're going to do with these edges now still active like this, we're going to go Control B to bevel. And let's bevel them about this much. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go to our face select option. And let's select, holding in shift, let's just select every other one of these. And I'm going to enable the X-ray over here. So we're just going to select every other one of the bigger ones, like so, going down. So this one, this one, this one, and then this one here. So you can see this is what we have active. And then we're going to go E to extrude, and we're just going to right click. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go S Shift Z, so S Shift Z, and then scale it in on these axes like so. So let's bring it in about this much, and let's look at that reference. So bringing in about this much. And then we're going to come over here with those still active and go to individual origins and then go S, Z, and then scale down on the Z just to kind of flatten those out like this. And now you can see we have what we're looking for here. So we're going to go back to median point under the transform. And over here, if you go into wireframe, you can just select these top verts over here. I'm just going to delete those and I'll just continue from this one here. So I'm going to scale this one down a bit, and then I'm going to go E to extrude, extrude it up, and just kind of try and match the reference a little bit. And there we have that, as you can see. Okay, we'll refine that a little bit later, but from here we're going to continue E to extrude, S to scale, E to extrude up, E to extrude, S to scale. And then we're going to lift this up just a little bit on the Z, and then E to extrude up. And then let's get E to extrude, S to scale, scale it in a little bit, and then E to extrude. And then we're making this part over here like that. And then we're going to go E to extrude, S to scale. And once again, going into edit mode, just roughly trying to match that reference. And we're going to extrude up like so. And if things look a little bit too big, you can always just select them and scale them by going S Shift Z and just make it a little bit narrower or skinnier. And then we're just continuing the process. So over here, we're going to go E to extrude, S to scale. And you can pretty much see where we're going with it at this point. Bring it up, E to extrude, S to scale, making the next cylindrical part. And from here, we're going to continue E to extrude, S to scale, E to extrude up on the Z. And then finally, we're going to go E to extrude, S to scale, and make this sort of lip up here. And then go E to extrude and Z, bring it up like so. Let's just leave it at that for now. So now you can see we have this sort of general shape over here. And now what we're going to do is we're going to tab back out. We're going to go over to our modifiers, and we're going to give this a bevel modifier. We're going to come here and bring the amount down. Now, depending on the scale of your object, you might have to go Control A and apply the scale if you've scaled in object mode, and that might affect the scale here. But I'm going to go with something about like this, and then increase the segment count to 2. Then I'm going to right click and go shade smooth. And now it's not looking as sharp. It's looking a lot better. And what we're going to do as well is we're going to tab into edit mode, and we're going to go Control R, left click, and let's slide in. So I'm just going to go double G, just slide in another edge here. You can go here, Control R, just left click once and then move your mouse. Let's just slide in another one here. That's just going to make that shading look a little bit better. And then back in edit mode, let's just also select this edge here and then go F to fill that. And let's just go Control B and just give that a bevel like so. Okay, just a little bevel. And that's a bit bigger than the bevel over here. So that's kind of like the result we're looking for. So if we tab back out, you can kind of see what that looks like. Okay, if you have to, you can make it a bit smaller, but that's what I'm going to go with. And then to model these things over here, I'm estimating there's about 6 of them. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 2 at the back, so 5, 6. So the way to do that, we're just going to go Shift A. Let's just add in a cube. S to scale that down, and let's go into our right orthographic view and leave this in the middle. But we're going to tab into edit mode and then go G and then move this over here. So that origin point is in the middle. So I'm tabbing back into object mode. And then what we're going to do is, what we could probably do, instead of doing an array, we could actually just go into our front view and just in edit mode, scale this down a little bit on the X and then scale it up. And let's just move it down and try and match one of these things over here roughly. And then in our right view, we can kind of estimate that it needs to go in a little bit more like this. And we can go S, Z, and scale it down on the Z like this. We're just kind of trying to match one of these things over here like that. And once you have that down, you can tab into object mode again. So we now want to duplicate this 6 more times, and 360 degrees is divided by 6 is going to be 60. So we want to go Shift D to duplicate it. And then we're going to type RZ, so RZ to rotate around the Z. And then we're going to type in 60 and we're going to press enter. And now what we can do is we can go Shift R, and if we press that, it's going to repeat that action. We're just going to repeat it around like this. So now we have 6 of these. And let's just hold in Shift and select them all together. So I'm holding in Shift, just selecting them. And then I'm going to go Control J just to join them together. And you can still go into edit mode and select them and kind of scale them. It's up to you, but I'm going to go with something like this. And then I'm going to also, in object mode, give them a bevel modifier. And then you can control the bevel here. I'm going to go something like that, bump it up, right click and go shade smooth. And now we have those features down here on the bottom, which are looking pretty good. You can now tab into edit mode here with our lightsaber. Let's extrude a little nub here, just extrude it down, scale it a bit, and we'll make a little detail like so. I think that looks quite cool. And that's about it. This is pretty simple. Another thing we could probably do up here is just in edit mode, select this edge here, go E to extrude, S to scale. And let's go E to extrude and Z, bring it down a little bit, and E to extrude, S to scale. And let's bring it to about here. And this bit here doesn't show it, but I think if we scale it a little bit and we go E to extrude and Z and extrude it up, there's going to be a little bit like this where the beam kind of comes out. So we're going to just extrude like this and then extrude another one down. And this is where the beam of light comes out. So that's looking about right. So at this point, what we're going to do is we're going to select our reference. If you have one, press M and then go new collection. Let's just call it ref, go OK. And then just hide that, turn it off for the render as well. And now what we're going to do is we're going to go to our render engine. Let's make it cycles. Let's make the device GPU if you have one. And under the render, let's make the max samples 90. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to go Shift A, I'm going to add in an area light, move it over to the side, rotate it in. I'm going to give that a strength of 200. And then I'm going to scale it on the Z a little bit like so. I'm going to rotate it in towards Lightsaber, and then I'm going to duplicate it and bring it in like so, another one. And now if we go to our front view and we can add in a camera, I'm going to bring the camera back, go into the camera view, and what I might do is just go over to my output settings, and I'm going to make it, let's go over here and make that, let's leave it as it is, but let's take this Y value and let's drag that up to 2200. Let's make 2200, or maybe also come here to the top resolution. Let's just make that 1500. And now we have this sort of aspect ratio. We're going to just zoom the camera back a bit. And now if we go Control B, we can just drag over the camera to limit the rendering to the camera. So now we can go Z and we can go into our rendered view. And we can see we have our object lit up here. I'm going to go over to my render properties. I'm going to go to film and just make it transparent for the background as well. I just prefer to do that sometimes. And then I'm going to duplicate one of these lights and just place it right behind here to give some nice rim lighting like that. So now I'm going to also save to my desktop, and I'm going to select my main lightsaber body. I'm going to go into my shading workspace, and in render view, the rendered view, I'm going to click new. And it's important at this point, if you have some references, to have them open somewhere on another monitor, or just look back and forth if you only have one monitor. And with our principled shader here, we're going to take the metallic, drag it all the way up to 1. Okay, so in rendered mode, we can see what that looks like. And we're going to take the roughness down, like so. We're also going to add some noise. So for now, I'm just going to go back into solid. We're going to go Shift A, search, and we're going to get a noise texture. We're going to take the color and drag it into the base here. And then we're going to go Shift A, search, and get a color ramp. Place it over here. And then we're going to take this roughness amount and increase it. And let's take the detail up to 7. Now if we go Z and we go rendered, we can kind of drag these two values together. We can kind of get an idea for what it's going to look like. So I'm going to drag it like so. Okay, so let's take this black value here, make it a little bit lighter. And let's take this white here and bring that down, make it a little bit darker. So now we have some texture here. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna drag this over, and we're gonna take this color ramp and duplicate it, drag this color into the factor here, and now we're gonna drag this color output here into our roughness. And now we can adjust these two to adjust our roughness as well. So I'm gonna go with something like that. And what we can do as well is we can go Shift A, search, and get a texture coordinate. And let's take that and plug the object here into the vector. And now that's looking a bit better as well. You can adjust the scale however you wish. So I'm gonna go something like 12. And now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take the top color ramp, and I'm just gonna drag this slider down a little bit here, just so it's not as much contrast with the texture. So what we're gonna do now as well, we're gonna select this bottom part here and we're gonna give that same material that we created here. Let's just call that metal 1. And now all we have to do, instead of making this several times over, we can actually just come here to this metal 1 material. We can select it all, and we can go right click and copy. And then we can click here on our lightsaber. Let's just go and give it another material. Go new, let's just call this metal 2. And then over here in the node section, let's just select these nodes. Let's just delete them and right click and go paste. Now all we have to do over here is tab into edit mode, and then let's select the bit we want to add this new material to. So I'm going to select this coppery bit over here, just these bits that are copper. And once again, you can look at your own reference to see where that's going to be. And then we're going to assign that metal to. And what we can do now is in our rendered view, we can actually come over here to this metal 2, and we can take these color ramp values here and we can actually give them a color. So I'm going to go with something that looks a little bit coppery like this. So now we have a nice copper material here, and it has that same sort of roughness that we're looking for. So I'm gonna go back into camera view, and now we're kind of gonna make that sort of black material in here. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna create another material. Let's just call this metal 3. And over here, let's just delete the default nodes. Right click and let's go paste. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna come over here to the color ramp, and we're gonna make this value here darker, and this one here a lot darker as well, like so. And then what we can do, we can tab into edit mode, and then we're gonna select all of the bits where we wanted that black material. Once again, you can look at your reference to see where that is. So that's just gonna be all the bits in between here. Just gonna select them, like so. And then if you go Control plus, you can grow the selection, and then just assign that material. So if we now go Z and we go rendered, we can kind of see what that looks like. For me, I'm also gonna select these bits over here, and I'm also gonna give them that black material and see what that looks like. Okay, so that's looking pretty cool. So this is kind of where we're at the moment with our lightsaber. What I'm gonna do, I'm gonna go back to my layout for now. And what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna select these bottom bits, and I'm going to actually, holding in shift, I'm gonna select the lightsaber, I'm gonna go Control P, I'm gonna go Object, Keep Transform. So now if we grab the lightsaber, those little bits on the hilt or bottom there are actually parented to this lightsaber. So let's give this a little bit of a test render for now. Make sure to save, and let's see what this looks like. And here you can see we have our render now, and I think that's looking pretty cool. It's a very simple kind of modeling technique, and you can also go ahead and add the button to yours as well. I'm not going to do that for this tutorial, but that's something you can very easily add as well. This is kind of just more how to get the general Luke Skywalker lightsaber here. So we could also, I suppose, quickly go Shift A. Let's just add in a plane, scale it up, and let's make a quick little setup here. I'm going to grab an edge here, just extrude it, and let's just make a nice little area for us to display this. So I'm going to take this, I'm going to rotate this and lay it flat on the plane here, like so. And then I'm going to grab my camera. I'm going to make just a normal 1920 by 1080, and I'm going to place it down here. You can adjust your lightsaber however you want. I'm going to go something like that. Okay, there we go. Let's just give that a smooth shade to the background image, and let's go Z, let's go rendered. And we can obviously, you can see here we need to adjust our lighting, so I'm just going to grab these lights and just readjust them now that I've moved the lightsaber. The main thing I'm also looking for here is just that nice rim lighting, of course. So I'm just going to rotate this light here, place it behind the lightsaber, and I'm going to grab this one here, rotate it in like so, grab this one. Okay, and I'm going to maybe just move the camera down like this. I'm going to give it a focal length of 90 and then zoom back a little bit with the camera. So something like that. You can adjust yours however you want. Might just rotate the camera off to the side a little bit. So get something that you like. And then let's give that a test render. And there you can see we have a much nicer looking kind of studio here for our lightsaber to be rendered. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this tutorial. By all means, make yours look a lot more realistic by adding more textures, adding some grunge, some edge wear, things like that. But this is pretty much the tutorial on how to make a basic lightsaber. I'll see you guys next time for another tutorial.